Hi, I'm Nola Simon. I'm the host of the Janus Oasis, the podcast where we look at how to bring the best of the past into the future and co-create the future you want. So I am the host of the podcast, but I'm also in the process of founding an advisory firm to help companies do hybrid remote work better. And I'm going to talk today about the process that I look at when I'm talking to companies about this change that they're looking to embed into their culture and company on a long-term basis. So if you are not interested in my business and how I'm going to operate that, this podcast is not for you. I'd encourage you to stop listening because I am going to focus on that. It is of interest if you're a leader, if you're an employee in one of these companies and you're interested in how your company can actually change and amalgamate this into their processes. So if you'd like to, it could be helpful. Again, really the intention is really just to go through at a high level the process that I'm going to take to review this with companies that would happen to hire me. So really you start with intention. You need to define what you want and how it's going to work with an office. So are you looking at hybrid? Do you know what hybrid means? It means something different to every single person. Employees tend to think that hybrid involves a lot more work from home than employers expect hybrid to involve. That's where you see a disconnect between employees wanting to work 3 days at home and 2 days in the office, and employers expecting 3 days in the office and 2 days at home. That's just one disconnect. It can be very many different things. If you are 100% remote, you need to explicitly state that. And then state an expectation of if you are going to be gathering, how that's going to work. If there's no office, if there is an office, how frequently you might need to have people attend in-person meetings. Just because you're remote doesn't mean that you never see your coworkers. You could do retreats, you could do special events. Maybe you meet like twice a year and you actually pay for all the travel. So you could have a distributed workforce around the world, but when you meet, you as an employer need to communicate that well in advance and actually pay for the travel and accommodation of those employees who have to actually travel. Now, that can be a little bit complicated with all of the COVID restrictions that are still existing. The more in advance you plan for that, the better. And you need to define purpose, right? So that's really where the intention comes from. If you're hybrid, you need to define how you're going to be using the office and how often, what type of work you're expecting to be done there. And if you're remote, you need to define what that actually means to you and how often you would expect to be seeing people, or if you never expect to see people. You also need to define what remote means to you. Does that mean that you could be remote anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world? Are there certain areas in the world that you don't want people to operate from? The world is a very interesting place these days. It may not be safe for employees to operate from all locations, right? So this is where you really need to refine the intention of the company in terms of supporting and embedding hybrid remote work. Once you've got that set, and honestly, the intention probably takes the most amount of questioning time and most involvement of the executive team, then you need to actually look at the narration. How are you telling the story of how hybrid or remote is actually going to help you complete business and be successful and competitive? Are you embedding that into your culture? Are you embedding it into your mission statement or your vision for the company and your values? How is that being defined? How are you telling the stories of what that looks like at the executive level, at the board level, at the customer level, at the employee level, for all the different departments? You need to weave the story into all of the narratives that people have about your company and be very specific about that too. And of course, this takes time. It's not something that you do all at once. it does actually have to be something that is woven in and very clear. There's a whole strategy to the narration and the communication of a change like this. And again, this is just a very high level overview of a process that I would follow. And once you've got the intention set, you've started with the narration, and people understand how things are going to work, this is where you start to model and test. So you try it out, you accept feedback, you hear from the people who are devil's advocates about what's working, what's not working, and then you tweak, you accept that feedback, and you implement it. And if people are seeing you walk your talk, then they're going to be invested in the process. If they're giving you feedback and you're listening and you're actually implementing it, they're going to be invested in the process and they will help you get to a better place. This is where you really need to embrace your employee advocacy and the people who are willing to tell you straight, because this is a co-creation process. I'm co-creating it with you as an employer, but your employees are also co-creating it with you as well. This is their company too. This is their work experience. They deserve to have input into what this is going to look like. And this is how you really engage people. And then once you test and tweak this, and the testing and tweaking could take time, right? So this could take 6 months, it could take 12 months, it could take 18 months. It really depends on the complexity of your business and the personalities involved. Realistically, you're looking probably a good 12 months. And that's why I've offered my services that way. I offer a 12-month contract, a 6-month contract, a 3-month contract, 6-week overview. And really the longer amount of time, the more I'm available just to guide you and help you watch out for red flags and things to avoid. So that's just something to be aware of. And then once you actually get to the point where you feel that you've got a model that's reflecting what people want and how the work can best be accomplished, that's when you start to embed it. So you really need to make sure that you're changing all the processes and procedures to facilitate the working model that you've chosen. And you need to look at that from all the different levels and make sure that it's completely embedded into your culture and your operations, your narration, and it really becomes just the way, it's a way of working, it's a way of life. And it's really just not necessarily you embracing hybrid anymore, it's the way things are done. That's what embedding really looks like. Everybody has a really clear understanding of the way that the work works for them and their particular job. And they have clear understandings of how that works for every other department as well too, and why. So there may be aspects of your operation that actually don't lend themselves well, that have to be done in person. And those people who are in those in-person roles understand why, but also understand if they need more flexibility, how they would transition to another area of the company that could actually facilitate their need for more work from home, for example. That's what I meant about embedding. Like it's like backlinks on a website so that you understand how everything is actually connected and there's no broken links. Everything flows, everything is understandable and can be tracked. And that's ultimately where you want to get to, is just clear and transparent commitment to the way things are going to work. So hopefully that's helpful as an overview of how you would actually embed hybrid remote work into your operations. Again, you can find me online on LinkedIn under my name, Nola Simon. My company page is actually under nolasimon.com, and that is actually my website as well. So www.nolasimon.com. If you are an executive who needs help, I am hearing from lots of people that there is no communication from companies at all about what this is going to look like. And nature abhors a vacuum. So people are starting to tell stories and they're starting to make decisions regardless of what your intentions are, because you're not communicating it. It's important to take action, and I can help you do that. So if you'd like to reach out to me, again, the best way is either LinkedIn, send me a DM, or you can actually go to my website and book a call that way. So hopefully that's helpful. And I really love all these different ways of moving forward into a future that's going to help people embed work into their life and really make the future a better place to work. And that's really what my goal is. How can we co-create a future that's going to be powerful for everyone involved? So thank you for listening, and I look forward to seeing you next time.